So, I kind of like small classes like this. I really do. Because it's like, if you got a question, you better be asking it today. Because it's like 1 on 8. And rarely is it that small. Okay? So, talk to me about the regular cosine graph. What? So it starts where? So I shouldn't say it starts where. At 0 degrees, 0 radians, where am I at? Top, middle, bottom. I'm at the top, right? Okay. So I'm at the top. Then I go. Do I go to the bottom or do I go even higher? I go to the bottom. Yep. That was kind of a trick question. Right? So it looks like a U, as you said. Okay? Going the other way, it looks like a W then, would it? If we... Right? Okay? Let's put some spacing on here. So the minimum and the maximum are what? Okay, so the high point is 1, the low point is -1. So that would tell me then that my range is from -1 to +1. Agree with that? Okay. And then let's talk about first period goes all the way out to 2 pi. Okay. So half of that would be pi. Half of that would be pi over 2. I should have used a different color on those because I want it to pop. We got to have it pop. Let's have it pop. Blue is making it pop. Oh, snap. So then pi over 2 there, and then the other half. Okay, and then going the other way, it's just the negatives of those, right? What's the range, or excuse me, the domain then of regular cosine? All real numbers. Yep. We just cut it off and truncated it, if you will. Okay? Handle? Okay. Now, let's find the inverse of cosine. Okay? So what's the first thing that we have to do when we find an inverse? Switch the x and the y. I said it in the middle of Hallie's big. I was just about to say, I said it right in the middle of your big bite, and then you couldn't participate. I saw it. Your face was like, I don't want to say it, but I don't want to talk with my mouth full, because I'm not rude. Okay? All right? So we switch the x and the y first. Yes. So then, that means that now my vertical is going to be the pi values. Right? And my horizontal is going to be 1 and -1. Right? Okay. So, from above, or from the cosine one, I won't scroll up and down because somebody might stroke out with me moving all that stuff all around. Okay? So, at the point on the cosine curve, we're at the point 0, 1. So that means we are at the point on the inverse cosine curve at 1, 0. Switch the x and the y. Okay? At pi over 2, we're at 0. on the real cosine curve. So on the inverse, we would be at 0, comma, pi over 2. On the real curve, we're at pi, comma, negative 1. So we're at negative 1, comma, pi. Back to there. Back to here. At negative pi, we're also at negative 1 on the real one. So at negative 1, we're at negative pi. And so on and so forth. Agree with that? So this curve here looks like that, right? What is the domain of my inverse? Negative 1 to 1. What is my range? All real numbers. Okay? Those also flip-flop, or switch, I should say. Because the domain is x's and the range is y, so if I switch my x and my y, my domain and my range will switch also. Okay? Alright? Now, notation-wise, so this, we don't write this per se. We write it as y equals the inverse cosine of x, or we would write it as y equals the, the arc cosine of x. Okay? Now, all important question, we asked it yesterday with sine too. Okay? Is, well, I'm going to call it arc cosine first, just because I like saying arc. Okay? Is the arc cosine a function? Why not? Fails the vertical line test. Just look at the y-axis, right? So on ours, it's touching in 4 spots. Okay? So not a function. So we have to restrict that value to make it be a function, to make it be useful to us, right? Okay? So, I should just do this. Okay. Just doing some math trickeration there. All right? So, I need to restrict that value now, right? Okay? To make it be a function. So, I need to hit every value from negative 1 to positive 1. Where do you think I should restrict it then? What values?
From negative pi to positive pi?
From negative pi to positive pi, that would be all the way from here to there, right? But is that a function? That pink dashed line. Not a function.
You wouldn't be able to have like negative and positive, would you? You'd have to go like negative pi to 0, or like 0 to pi.
Which one do I like better? I like 0 to pi better. Is that what you were going to go with? Yep, that's what I would have gone with too. Let's go with, let's shrink it to there. Right? Okay. Now we hit everything, and I'm a function. Okay? All right, so let's put that on here then. Then let's just talk about it. So I go from 1 to negative 1, and I go from 0 to pi. Right? So my domain now is negative 1 to positive 1 still, but my range is now 0 to pi, and I'm a function, and I hit every value from that -1 to +1. Okay? On the unit circle, with inverse sign, we were on the right half of the circle. With inverse cosine, where are we? Nope. We're not. I said with inverse sine, we were on the right. With cosine now, with inverse cosine, with arc cosine, where are we? No. We were on the right with sine. Where are we now with cosine? On the top. We're on the top half of the unit circle.
Can you explain why you're on the right this time?
Why?
Yeah. How do you know on the right?
Because we needed that function, right? Now, I don't think I can draw on this one, but we needed that function to go, we needed to hit every value from -1 to +1, right? So I had to go, oops, now it's going to drag. It's going to go here, whoops, to there. Gets me all my values. What? No, because it's repeated. It's either one of them. If I go on both of them, it's not a function. If so, this is hard to see on the video, but so here is the right half. Whoa, tap the brakes, come back to me. Here is the right half of the circle, right? Here is the left half of the circle. Okay? And so it doesn't work out. Okay? Right? Yep.
Like, are you burning the circle this way or what?
No. Circle's always straight up.
Then how can it, if it's going like this, how can it?
Okay. All right? With me? So, all of our answers now, whenever we're dealing with arc cosine, have to be between 0 and pi. No negatives. That's a good thing. Okay? So we don't get those funky ones like yesterday where, oh, now I gotta, instead of going 11 pi over 6, I gotta write it as negative pi over 6. Okay? So, using your unit circles now, you might want to get those out. Okay? Using your unit circles now, where on the top half, because I'm dealing with inverse cosine, top half of the unit circle, where is cosine? Cosine is what again? Cosine are my x values. Okay? I'm on the top half. And so it's got to be 0 to pi are my answers. Where is the cosine equal to the square root 2 over 2? Pi over 4? Do we agree with pi over 4? I would agree that this is pi over 4. Okay? What I would like you to do now is, using your unit circle, find me exact values for those 4. Top half, where is cosine, the inverse cosine equal to 0? Or what is the inverse cosine of 0? So where on the top half is the cosine equal to 0? Pi over 2? Top half, where is the cosine equal to negative 1/2? 2 pi over 3. So the arc cosine of negative 1/2 is 2 pi over 3.
How did you find that?
Where on the top half of the unit circle is the cosine equal to negative 1/2.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
Negative 1. Arc cosine of negative 1 is equal to pi. Inverse cosine of negative 3 pi over 2, or negative the square root of 3 over 2. 5 pi over 6. Okay? What I would like you to do for the remainder of class is I would like you to now work on completing the pink 4.7 inverse trig functions and ACT prep packet. Okay? By that, you should have most of the top half now of section number 1, inverse cosine. You should be able to answer most of those questions based off of what we just did. It says from the video, I just gave you the video. Okay? I'm your video today. Okay? The second part, part number 2 on the bottom of page 1, that's your notes from Monday. Because we already did the tangent function. We already graphed tangent. That's from Monday. Okay? So you should be, in the next 5 minutes, you should be done with page number 1 and on to page number 2, finding the inverse tangent function. Okay? Don't forget that today your cotangent and cosecant graphs are due. Okay? Make sure that you turn those in. And then continue to work on the pink packet. Okay?